Captain Jake Morrison stood on the bridge of the Starlight and looked out at the purple planet below them. The ship had traveled for 3 months to reach this place. Earth's leaders had picked Jake for this mission because he was good with people and never lost his temper. They needed someone who could make friends with aliens who had never met humans before. The Zephyrian homeworld looked beautiful from space with its purple clouds and silver oceans. Jake had read all the files about these aliens. They were old, very old. Their civilization had existed for thousands of years before humans even learned to make fire. They followed strict rules about everything: how to talk, how to walk, how to sit, how to breathe. Everything had a proper way that could not be changed. Ambassador Lisa Chang walked up to Jake and handed him a thick book. "You need to read this." "Again," she said with worry in her voice. "The Zephyrians take their ceremonies very seriously. One wrong move and they might think we are trying to insult them." Jake flipped through the book. It was full of complex rules about bowing and speaking and standing. The Zephyrians had different ways to greet people based on their rank, their age, their family name, and even what day of the week it was. Jake closed the book and sighed. "Lisa, I've read this 5 times already. I'll do my best, but I'm not going to pretend to be someone I'm not." Lisa looked nervous. "Jake, please. This is the most important diplomatic mission in human history. These aliens have technology we can only dream about. They could help us solve problems like hunger and disease, but they're also powerful enough to destroy us if we make them angry." The communication officer turned around. "Captain, we're getting a message from the planet. They're ready for us to land." Jake nodded and turned to his crew. "All right, everyone, this is it. Remember, we're not just representing ourselves. We're representing all of humanity. Let's make a good first impression." The shuttle ride down to the planet's surface was quiet. Jake looked out the window at the strange purple trees and crystal buildings. Everything looked so different from Earth, but also somehow beautiful. The Zephyrian city was made of tall spires that seemed to grow from the ground like flowers. There were no roads or vehicles that Jake could see. Instead, platforms floated through the air carrying the aliens from place to place. When they landed at the palace, Jake got his first look at the Zephyrians. They were tall and thin, with smooth skin that changed colors like a mood ring. Most of them had their skin set to a neutral gray color. Their faces were almost human-like, but with larger eyes and no nose. They breathed through small slits on their necks. Hundreds of Zephyrians stood in perfect lines around a massive courtyard. They all wore flowing robes in different colors that showed their rank. The higher their position, the brighter their clothes. At the front of the group stood someone in brilliant gold robes. Jake guessed this was the princess he was supposed to meet. Lisa whispered to Jake as they walked forward. "Remember, bow 3 times when you meet her. Don't look directly at her. Eyes until she speaks first. Keep your hands at your sides at all times." Jake nodded, but his attention was focused on the princess. Even from far away, he could tell she was young. She stood perfectly still like a statue. Her skin was a pale purple color, and her eyes stared straight ahead. She looked nervous to Jake, though he couldn't be sure since alien expressions were hard to read. The ceremony began with a Zephyrian official reading from a long scroll in their musical language. Jake didn't understand the words, but he could hear the formal tone. Everything was precise and careful. When the official finished, Princess Lyrelay stepped forward. She began to speak in careful English. "Humans of Earth, we welcome you to our world according to the ancient traditions of our people. We hope this meeting will bring understanding between our species." Jake started to bow the way Lisa had taught him. But as he did, he noticed the princess was having trouble. The golden robes she wore were incredibly long and heavy. As she tried to step down from the raised platform, her foot caught in the flowing fabric. She started to stumble forward. Without thinking, Jake stepped forward and gently caught her arm to steady her. The moment his hand touched hers, he smiled and said, "Hey there, careful now." The effect was immediate and shocking. Princess Lyrale's skin changed from pale purple to bright, brilliant purple in seconds. Her large eyes went wide, and she stared at Jake with surprise. The color spread across her face and down her neck like spilled paint. The entire courtyard went silent. Hundreds of Zephyrians stared in complete shock. Some of them made soft gasping sounds. Others took steps backward as if they had seen something impossible. Jake didn't understand what was happening. He had just helped someone who was about to fall. It seemed like the normal thing to do, but the princess was looking at him like he had just performed magic. Lisa grabbed Jake's arm and pulled him back. Her face was pale with worry. "What did you do?" she whispered. "I just helped her," Jake whispered back. "She was going to fall." Princess Lyrale slowly raised her hand to her cheek. Her skin was still that bright purple color. She touched her face like she couldn't believe what was happening. When she spoke, her voice was softer than before. You touched me without permission. You spoke to me without following proper greeting protocol. You called me 'Hey there' instead of using my royal title." Jake started to apologize, but the princess held up her hand. "Yet your intention was to help me from falling. Your touch was gentle. Your words were kind." She looked around at all the staring faces. "I have never felt my skin change color like this before." An older Zephyrian in dark robes stepped forward. He looked angry. "Princess, this human has violated every rule of proper conduct. He should be punished for his disrespect." But Princess Lyrale kept looking at Jake. Her skin was slowly returning to its normal pale purple, but there were still bright spots on her cheeks. "General Korath, he prevented me from injury. In our oldest laws, that is considered an act of honor, not disrespect." Jake decided to speak up. "I'm sorry if I broke your rules. On Earth, we help people when they're in trouble. It's just what we do. I meant no disrespect to you or your people." The princess tilted her head to one side. "What you do. Just what you do." She repeated his words slowly. "You did not think about protocol or rules or consequences. You simply acted to help." "That's right," Jake said with another smile. It seemed like the right thing to do. "Princess." Lyrale's skin flickered with bright purple again for just a moment. She quickly looked away, but Jake caught the hint of what might have been a smile on her alien features. General Korath stepped closer. "Princess, we should continue with the proper ceremony. This interruption has already caused enough disruption." But Jake could see that something had changed. The princess kept glancing at him with curious eyes. The other Zephyrians were whispering among themselves. His simple act of kindness had somehow broken through thousands of years of rigid tradition. Jake had a feeling this was just the beginning. The next morning, Ambassador Lisa Chang paced back and forth in their guest quarters like a caged animal. She had spent all night reading emergency diplomatic protocols and sending urgent messages back to Earth. "Jake, do you understand what happened yesterday? You made a Zephyrian princess show emotion in public. According to my research, that hasn't happened in over 200 years. Jake sat calmly eating his breakfast. The Zephyrians had provided food that tasted surprisingly similar to Earth fruits. Lisa, I just helped someone who was about to fall. Down! How was I supposed to know that being nice would cause such a big reaction? That's exactly the problem, Lisa said, waving her hands. You don't understand how big this is. The Zephyrians believe that showing emotion makes you weak. Their royal family is trained from birth to never let their feelings show. When Princess Lyrelai's skin changed color like that, it was like watching her cry in public. Jake thought about this while he finished eating. So she was embarrassed? Worse than embarrassed. She showed vulnerability in front of her entire court. Some of them probably think she's not fit to be a leader anymore. Before Jake could respond, there was a soft chime at their door. A Zephyrian servant entered and bowed deeply. Captain Morrison, Princess Lyrelai requests your presence for the morning diplomatic session. Lisa grabbed Jake's arm. Remember everything. I taught you. Bow properly. Don't touch anyone. Use her full title. And whatever you do, don't be so casual with her. Jake walked through the crystal corridors of the palace with the servant as his guide. The walls were covered in beautiful patterns that seemed to move and shift as he watched. Other Zephyrians they passed stared at him with curious eyes. Some of them whispered to each other as he went by. The diplomatic session was held in a large room with floating chairs arranged in a circle. Princess Lyrelai sat in the center wearing robes of deep blue today. Her skin was back to its normal, pale purple, but Jake noticed she kept touching her face like she was checking to make sure it stayed the right color. Captain Morrison, she said formally when he entered, please take the seat designated for honored guests. Jake sat down and noticed that his chair was positioned directly across from hers. Thank you, Princess Lyrelai. I hope you're feeling well today. Her skin flickered with just a hint of brighter purple for a second, before she controlled it. I'm well, Captain. Today we will discuss trade agreements between our worlds. For the next hour, they talked about boring diplomatic things. What Earth could offer Zephyria, and what Zephyria might give to Earth in return. Jake tried to pay attention, but he found himself watching the princess instead. She was clearly intelligent and spoke several languages perfectly. But there was something sad about the way she sat so stiffly and controlled every word she said. During a break in the formal discussion, Jake decided to try something. Princess, can I ask you a personal question? Several of the other Zephyrians in the room made soft gasping sounds. Apparently asking personal questions wasn't part of normal diplomatic protocol either. Princess Lyrelai looked surprised. I suppose you may ask. Do you ever get to just relax and be yourself? All this formal stuff seems really tiring. The princess stared at him for a long moment. Her skin started to shift toward brighter purple again, but she took a deep breath and controlled it. Relaxation is not appropriate for members of the royal family, Captain. We have duties that require constant attention to proper behavior. But what about when you're alone? Jake asked. What do you do for fun? Fun? She repeated the word like she had never heard it before. I do not understand this concept. Jake felt sad hearing that. Fun is when you do something just because it makes you happy. Like playing games or listening to music or spending time with friends. Princess Lyrelai tilted her head. I play the crystal harp because it is expected of royal daughters. I do not play it for happiness. That's terrible, Jake said without thinking. Everyone should have something that makes them happy. The room went very quiet. The other Zephyrians looked shocked that Jake had criticized their way of life, but Princess Lyrelai leaned forward with interest. What makes you happy, Captain? Morrison? Jake smiled. Lots of things. Watching sunsets, talking with friends, helping people solve problems, making people laugh. Simple stuff, really. Making people laugh, the princess repeated slowly. You mean causing others to show emotion? Well, yeah. But it's good emotion. When people laugh, they feel better. It's like sharing happiness. Princess Lyralay's skin was definitely getting brighter now despite her efforts to control it. On your world, showing emotion makes people feel better. It does not make them appear weak or foolish. Just the opposite, Jake said. People who can't show emotion seem cold and distant. We don't trust them as much. We like leaders who can laugh and cry and get excited about things. It makes them seem more human. He paused. I mean, more real, more genuine. The princess was quiet for a long time. Finally, she spoke very softly. Yesterday, when you helped me, I felt something I had not experienced since childhood. When my skin changed color, it was not from embarrassment. It was from surprise and gratitude, and something else I do not have words for. Maybe you felt appreciated, Jake suggested, like someone cared about your well-being without wanting anything in return. Princess Lyralay's skin brightened again, and this time she didn't try to hide it. Yes, that is exactly what it was. You cared about my well-being. General Korath, who had been sitting silently in the corner, suddenly stood up. Princess, this conversation is highly inappropriate. These human ideas are dangerous to our social order. But Princess Lyralay ignored him and kept looking at Jake. Captain Morrison, would you be willing to teach me more about human customs? I find myself very curious about your ways. Jake grinned. I'd be happy to. Maybe we could start with something simple. Do you know how to shake hands? Shake hands? She asked. Jake stood up and extended his hand toward her. It's how humans greet friends. You take my hand in yours and move it up and down gently. It shows trust and friendship. The princess looked at his outstretched hand like it was the most fascinating thing she had ever seen. Slowly, carefully, she reached out and took his hand in hers. Jake showed her how to shake hands properly, moving their joined hands up and down a few times. This is how friends greet each other on your world? She asked. Her skin was now a beautiful bright purple, and she seemed completely unaware of it. One way, yeah. We also hug sometimes, but that might be too advanced for today, Jake said with a laugh. Princess Lyralay made a sound that Jake realized was probably Zephyrian laughter. It was like wind chimes ringing softly. Perhaps we should practice handshaking more before attempting hugs. General Korath stepped forward with anger in his voice. Princess, this is enough. These human customs are corrupting your proper behavior. I must insist that this meeting end immediately. Princess Lyralay turned to face him, and for the first time her voice was firm. General Korath, I am learning about our new allies. This is important diplomatic work. The meeting will continue. Jake could see that something was changing in the princess. She was starting to stand up for herself in a way that seemed new. The bright purple color of her skin wasn't going away anymore. If anything, it was getting brighter and more beautiful. Besides, she added, looking back at Jake with what might have been the beginning of a smile, I am very interested to learn what a hug is. 3 weeks had passed since Jake first arrived on the Zephyrian homeworld, and everything was changing faster than anyone expected. Princess Lyralay had requested daily meetings with the human delegation, officially to discuss cultural exchange, programs, but Jake could tell she was really just hungry to learn about life beyond the rigid rules of her world. Today, they sat in the palace gardens, a beautiful place filled with crystal trees that sang soft melodies in the wind. Jake had convinced the princess to meet outside instead of in the formal conference rooms. Fresh air helps people think better, he had told her, and she had agreed to try it. Princess Lyreley wore simpler robes today, pale green instead of the heavy ceremonial ones. Her skin had stayed a soft, warm purple color for days now. She didn't even seem to notice anymore, though other Zephyrians certainly did. Jake had seen them staring and whispering whenever the princess walked by. "Jake," she said, using his first name instead of his title. This was another new development that made the royal guards nervous. "Tell me more about friendship on your world. How do humans choose their friends?" Jake thought about it while he watched the crystal trees sway. "I guess we choose people we enjoy spending time with. People who make us laugh, who we can talk to easily, who care about the same things we do. Friends are people you can be yourself around without worrying about judgment." "Be yourself around," she repeated thoughtfully. "I am not certain I know who myself is. I have been trained to be a princess for so long, I do not remember what I was like before the training began." This made Jake feel sad for her. "What's your earliest memory? From before you knew you were supposed to act a certain way?" Princess Lyreley closed her eyes and was quiet for a long time. When she opened them again, her skin had shifted to a soft golden color that Jake had never seen before. "I remember playing in these gardens when I was very small. I would pretend the crystal trees were friends who could talk to me. I would sing to them and imagine they sang back." She paused and looked embarrassed. "It sounds foolish now." "It doesn't sound foolish at all," Jake said gently. "It sounds like you were a creative, imaginative child. Those are wonderful qualities." The golden color in her skin grew brighter. "My tutors told me imagination was a waste of time. They said princesses must focus on reality and duty." "Your tutors were wrong," Jake said firmly. "Imagination is one of the most important things humans have. It's how we solve problems, create art, and dream about better futures. Without imagination, we'd still be living in caves." Princess Lyreley stood up and walked over to one of the crystal trees. She placed her hand on its smooth surface, and it responded with a gentle chime. "I have not touched these trees in 20 years. I had forgotten how beautiful their songs are." Jake joined her by the tree. "Want to know a secret? I've been listening to them every day since I got here. Sometimes I even hum along when no one's around." She looked at him with surprise. "You sing to the trees, too?" "Sure. Music is universal, right? Doesn't matter if you're human or Zephyrian or anything else. Beautiful sounds make everyone feel good." Princess Lyreley hesitated for a moment, then began to hum softly. The crystal tree responded immediately, its song becoming more complex and melodic. Other trees nearby started to join in until the entire garden was filled with harmonious music. "This is wonderful," she whispered, her skin now glowing bright gold with happiness. "I had forgotten what joy felt like." They stood there together listening to the tree song, and Jake realized something important was happening. This wasn't just about cultural exchange anymore. He was genuinely starting to care about Princess Lyreley as a person, not just as a diplomatic contact. She was smart and kind, and had a beautiful sense of wonder that her society had tried to crush, but hadn't quite succeeded. "Princess," he said quietly, "can I ask you something that might be too personal?" She nodded, still glowing golden in the garden light. Are you happy? I mean, really happy with your life here? Her glow faded slightly, and she was quiet for a long time. I have never considered whether happiness was possible for someone in my position. We are taught to find satisfaction in duty and honor. But since meeting you, I have begun to wonder what my life might be like if I could choose differently. What would you choose? Jake asked. I think I would choose to spend more time here in the gardens. I would learn to play music for joy instead of obligation. I would have conversations like this one, where I can say what I really think instead of what is expected. She paused and looked at him with those large, expressive eyes. I would choose to have friends. You do have a friend, Jake said with a smile. Me, if you want one. The golden glow returned to her skin, brighter than before. I would like that very much. But Jake, you must understand something. My friendship could be dangerous for you. There are members of the court who believe your influence on me is harmful to our society. As if summoned by her words, General Korath appeared at the garden entrance with a group of armed guards. His skin was dark red with anger. Princess Lyrelai, you will return to the palace immediately. This inappropriate behavior has gone too far. Princess Lyrelai stepped closer to Jake, and he could see her skin shift from gold to a determined purple. General Korath, I am conducting important diplomatic work with our human allies. You are making a fool of yourself and embarrassing the royal family, Korath snapped. Look at yourself. Your skin betrays every emotion like a child who has not learned proper control. You sing to trees like a simple peasant. You use the alien's first name without title or respect. This ends now. Jake felt anger building inside him. General, the princess is one of the most intelligent and capable people I've ever met. She's not embarrassing anyone. She's being genuine and honest, which are qualities any leader should be proud of. Korath's red skin grew darker. Silence, human. You have corrupted our princess with your primitive emotional displays. Guards, arrest this alien for crimes against the royal dignity. The guards started forward, but Princess Lyrelai stepped between them and Jake. Her skin blazed bright purple with fierce determination. Stop. No one will arrest Captain Morrison while he is under my protection. Princess, you are no longer thinking clearly, Korath said. This human has poisoned your mind with dangerous ideas about feelings and friendship. For the good of our world, he must be removed. Princess Lyrelai drew herself up to her full height. Jake had never seen her look so royal and commanding. General Korath, I am thinking more clearly than I have in my entire life. Captain Morrison has not corrupted me. He has helped me remember who I was meant to be. And if you try to harm him, you will answer to me personally. The standoff lasted for several tense seconds. Finally, Korath backed down, but his expression promised this was not over. As you wish, Princess. But this human's influence grows stronger every day. Soon you will have to choose between your duty to our people and your attachment to these alien ideas. After Korath and his guards left, Princess Lyrelai sank down onto a garden bench. Her skin had faded to a pale, worried purple. Jake, I am afraid. The general is right about one thing. I am changing, and that change frightens many of my people. Jake sat beside her. Change can be scary, but sometimes it's necessary. Maybe your people need to change too. She looked at him with those beautiful, expressive eyes. What if they are not ready? What if trying to change everything too fast causes more harm than good? Then we'll take it slow, Jake said. We'll show them one person at a time that emotions and friendship and joy aren't dangerous. We'll prove that being genuine makes you stronger, not weaker. Princess Lyralay's skin began to glow soft gold again. Jake realized what he had said and felt his heart skip a beat. I mean, if you want my help? If you think having a human friend around might be useful? She smiled, a real smile that transformed her entire face. Jake Morrison, I would be honored to have you as both friend and ally in whatever comes next. As they sat together in the singing garden, Jake knew that everything was about to change. The question was whether they would be strong enough to handle what was coming. Jake woke up in the middle of the night to the sound of alarms echoing through the palace. Red lights flashed outside his window, and he could hear guards running through the corridors. Something was very wrong. He quickly dressed and opened his doctor to find Ambassador Lisa Chang waiting in the hallway. Her face was pale with worry. Jake, we need to get to the shuttle immediately. General Korath has staged some kind of coup. He's declared Princess Lyralai unfit to rule because of her emotional displays. What about the princess? Jake asked as they hurried down the hallway. Is she safe? I don't know. The communications are all jammed. We can't reach her or anyone loyal to the royal family. They made it halfway to the shuttle bay before armed guards blocked their path. These weren't the usual palace guards. Their armor was different, marked with Korath's military symbols. Human delegates, you will come with us immediately, the lead guard announced. Jake and Lisa were escorted to a secure holding area deep in the palace. The room was small and windowless with no way to escape. They waited there for hours before the door finally opened and General Korath entered. His skin was dark red with satisfaction. Captain Morrison, Ambassador Chang, I regret that your diplomatic mission has been interrupted, but circumstances required immediate action to protect our world. Where is Princess Lyralai? Jake demanded. What have you done with her? The former princess is safe but confined for her own protection, Korath replied coldly. Her mind has been corrupted by your human influence. She can no longer think clearly about her duties to our people. For the stability of our government, I have assumed temporary leadership until she can be properly rehabilitated. Lisa stepped forward. General, this is completely against interplanetary law. You cannot detain diplomatic envoys or overthrow legitimate rulers. Earth will not stand for this. Korath laughed harshly. Earth is far away, Ambassador. By the time your government learns what has happened here, the situation will be resolved. Princess Lyralai will be cured of her emotional weakness, and our society will return to proper order. She's not sick, Jake said angrily. She's finally learning to be happy, to be herself. That's not something that needs to be cured. That is exactly the problem, Korath snapped. Your primitive human concepts of happiness and friendship have made her weak. A leader cannot show such vulnerability. Our people need strength and stability, not someone who glows different colors every time she feels something. Jake realized there was no point in arguing with Korath. The general truly believed that emotions were dangerous. What happens to us now? You will remain here until arrangements can be made for your departure from our world. Your influence has been far too damaging to allow you to continue. After Korath left, Jake and Lisa sat in worried silence for a long time. Finally, Lisa spoke. Jake, I think we underestimated how serious this situation was. Princess Lyralai tried to change too much too fast. Now she might lose everything. Jake felt terrible guilt washing over him. This is my fault. I encouraged her to express her emotions and be herself. I didn't think about the political consequences. You couldn't have known this would happen, Lisa said gently. But now we need to figure out how to help her. Before Jake could respond, they heard a soft sound at the door. Someone was working on the lock from the outside. The door opened quietly, and a young Zephyrian guard peered in. His skin was bright blue with nervousness. Captain Morrison? I am Guard Kellen. Princess Lyrelay sent me to find you. The princess is free? Jake asked hopefully. Not exactly. She is imprisoned in the tower, but she has many supporters among the younger guards and servants. We have been passing messages secretly. Kellen handed Jake a small crystal tablet. She wanted you to see this. Jake touched the crystal, and Princess Lyraleigh's voice filled the small room. Jake, if you are hearing this, then Kellen has successfully reached you. I want you to know that I do not regret anything that has happened. You showed me what life could be like if I had the courage to be genuine. Even if I lose my throne, I will always be grateful for that gift. The message continued. Korath believes he can force me to return to the old ways. But he is wrong. I have felt real joy and friendship, and I cannot go back to pretending those things do not matter. Many of our people, especially the younger ones, have been inspired by seeing me express genuine emotions. They are ready for change, even if the old guard is not. Jake looked at Kellen. How many people support the princess? More than General Korath realizes, Kellen replied. The servants talk to each other. The guards share stories. Word has spread about how the princess glowed with happiness in the gardens, how she sang with the crystal trees, how she treated everyone with kindness instead of cold formality. Many of us want that kind of leader. Lisa frowned. But does Princess Lyrelei have enough support to challenge Korath directly? He controls the military. That is the problem, Kellen admitted. Most of the older officers follow Korath. They believe in the traditional ways. But Princess Lyrelei has sent word that she plans to invoke the right of challenge. What's that? Jake asked. An ancient law that allows any member of the royal family to challenge for leadership through single combat. It has not been used in over 300 years, but it is still legal. Jake felt his heart sink. Princess Lyrelei wants to fight General Korath, but he's a trained warrior. She spent her life studying diplomacy and culture, not combat. I know, Kellen said sadly. But it may be the only way to resolve this without civil war. If she wins, her right to rule will be established beyond question. If she loses... He didn't finish the sentence. I have to see her, Jake said firmly. Can you get me to the tower? Kellen looked nervous. It would be very dangerous. If we are caught, Korath will have us all executed for treason. I don't care. Princess Lyrelei is my friend. Friends don't abandon each other when things get difficult. Lisa grabbed Jake's arm. This is crazy. You're not a soldier or a spy. You're a diplomat. I'm also someone who cares about what happens to her, Jake replied. Kellen, I need you to get me to Princess Lyrelei. There has to be something I can do to help. Kellen studied Jake's face for a long moment, then nodded. Very well, but we must move quickly and quietly. Korath has guards everywhere. They snuck through the palace using servant passages and maintenance tunnels that Kellen knew well. It took over an hour to reach the tower where Princess Lyrelei was being held. Kellen distracted the guards while Jake slipped inside. Princess Lyrelei was sitting by the window looking out at the stars. When she saw Jake, her skin immediately brightened to warm gold. Jake, I hoped you would come, but I feared it was too dangerous. Of course I came, Jake said, crossing the room to take her hands. We're friends, remember? Friends stick together. Her skin glowed even brighter. I am so afraid, Jake. Tomorrow I must fight Korath for the right to rule my people. I have never been in real combat before. I do not know if I am strong enough. Jake looked into her beautiful eyes and saw the fear there, but also determination and courage. Princess, you are the strongest person I know. Not because you can fight, but because you have the courage to be yourself even when everyone tells you it's wrong. That's true strength. But what if I lose? What if my people decide? They prefer the old ways after all. Jake squeezed her hands gently. Then at least you'll know you stood up for what you believed in. And you won't be alone. There are people who support you who want the chance to feel real emotions and have genuine connections. You've given them hope. Princess Lyrelei leaned against him, and Jake put his arms around her in the first real hug of her life. Her skin glowed soft gold, and she sighed contentedly. Thank you, Jake, for everything. No matter what happens tomorrow, I want you to know that meeting you changed my life in the most wonderful way. As they held each other in the starlight, Jake made a silent promise. He would find a way to help her win this fight, even if it meant putting his own life at risk. The next morning, thousands of Zephyrians gathered in the great arena to witness the challenge of leadership. Jake stood with the other spectators, but his heart was pounding with worry. Princess Lyrelei had spent the night preparing, but she still looked small and delicate compared to General Korath's imposing figure. The combat would be fought with traditional Zephyrian energy weapons that created shields and projectiles from pure light. Jake didn't understand all the rules, but he knew that whoever yielded first or was rendered unable to continue would lose. The winner would have absolute authority to rule. Princess Lyrelei entered the arena wearing simple white robes instead of her usual royal colors. Her skin was pale purple with determination, but Jake could see the fear underneath. She bowed to the crowd according to ancient tradition, then took her position at one end of the fighting circle. General Korath strode in wearing full military armor. His skin was dark red with confidence and anger. When he activated his energy weapon, it blazed with fierce crimson light. Princess, he called out loud enough for everyone to hear, it is not too late to surrender and accept proper treatment for your emotional sickness. Princess Lyrelei activated her own weapon, which glowed soft blue. General Korath, I challenge you not because I am sick, but because I am finally healthy. I have learned what it means to feel joy, friendship, and genuine care for others. Those are not weaknesses. They are the greatest strengths a leader can have. The crowd murmured with surprise. Many of them had never heard their princess speak with such passion and conviction. The formal combat began. Korath attacked immediately with powerful energy blasts that forced Princess Lyrelei to dodge and defend. He was clearly the better fighter, with years of military training and experience. But as the battle continued, Jake noticed something interesting happening. Every time Princess Lyrelei defended herself or counterattacked, her skin would flicker with different colors. When she felt determined, it turned bright purple. When she moved gracefully to avoid Korath's attacks, it shifted to silver. When she managed to land a hit on his shields, it flashed gold with satisfaction. The crowd was mesmerized. They had never seen anyone fight with such open emotional expression. Instead of the cold, calculated combat they were used to, this was like watching someone's heart and soul on full display. "Look at her," Jake heard someone whisper nearby. "She fights with genuine feeling. I had forgotten emotions could be so beautiful," another voice said. Korath noticed the crowd's reaction and became angrier. His attacks grew more vicious and desperate. "You see?" he shouted between energy blasts. "She cannot control herself. She displays every feeling like a child." But Princess Lyralai had found her rhythm. Instead of trying to hide her emotions, she was using them. When she felt protective of her people, her strength increased. When she remembered Jake's friendship and support, her movements became more confident. When she thought about the possibility of bringing joy and authenticity to her world, her weapon blazed brighter. "I do not hide my feelings because they are not shameful," she called out as she pressed her attack. "I feel love for my people, hope for our future, and determination to be the leader they deserve. These emotions make me stronger, not weaker." The crowd was cheering now, something that had never happened during a formal combat before. Young Zephyrians were especially excited, their own skin flickering with sympathetic colors as they watched their princess fight with such genuine passion. Korath was tiring. His heavy armor and angry attacks were wearing him down, while Princess Lyralai seemed to be gaining energy from the crowd's support. In a final desperate move, he charged at her with all his remaining strength. Princess Lyralai waited until the last second, then stepped aside with fluid grace. As Korath stumbled past her, she placed her weapon against his back. "Yield, General. This fight is over." Korath fell to his knees, exhausted and defeated. His skin had faded to dull gray. "I yield," he said quietly. The crowd erupted in celebration. Princess Lyralai had won not just through skill, but by proving that someone who showed genuine emotion could be strong and capable. She had fought with her whole heart on display, and it had made her more powerful than anyone expected. Jake pushed through the crowd to reach her. When Princess Lyralai saw him, her entire body glowed brilliant gold with happiness. She ran to him and threw her arms around him in a joyful embrace. "We did it," she whispered. "We proved that being genuine and emotional doesn't make someone weak." "No, you did it," Jake said, holding her tight. "You were incredible out there. I've never seen anyone fight with such courage and heart." Princess Lyralai pulled back to look at him, her skin still glowing with happiness. "Jake, I could not have done this without you. You taught me that my feelings were something to be proud of, not ashamed of. You showed me what friendship and genuine care look like." Over the following months, Princess Lyralai became queen and began transforming Zephyrian society. The rigid rules about emotional control were relaxed. Young Zephyrians were encouraged to express themselves honestly. Art and music flourished as people rediscovered the beauty of genuine feeling. Jake was appointed as Earth's first cultural exchange ambassador, helping other alien species learn about human concepts like friendship, empathy, and emotional intelligence. His success with the Zephyrians had impressed governments across the galaxy, but the most important change was in Queen Lyralai herself. She ruled with wisdom and compassion, her skin shifting through beautiful colors that reflected her genuine care for her people. She had become exactly the kind of leader her world needed. Someone who was strong enough to be vulnerable, confident enough to show feeling, and wise enough to understand that authentic connection was the foundation of good leadership. One evening, as they walked together through the singing crystal gardens, Jake took her hand and smiled. "So, Your Majesty, any regrets about this whole emotional expression thing?" Queen Lyra Lee laughed, that beautiful wind chime sound he had come to love, and her skin glowed warm gold in the starlight. "Only one regret," she said playfully. "What's that?" She stepped closer to him, her eyes sparkling with mischief. "I regret that it took you so long to teach me what a hug was." Jake grinned and pulled her into his arms. "Well, we have plenty of time to make up for that now." As they embraced under the singing trees, surrounded by the gentle music of her transformed world, Jake reflected on how a simple act of kindness had changed everything. He had just been trying to help someone who was about to fall. He never imagined that catching a stumbling princess and saying, "Hey there," with genuine warmth would spark a revolution of the heart that would transform an entire civilization. But maybe that was the most human thing of all. The ability to change the world simply by caring about one person at a time, one moment of authentic connection at a time. And as Queen Lyra Lee's skin glowed brilliant gold with pure happiness, Jake knew that this was just the beginning of what they could accomplish together. The galaxy was full of species who had forgotten how to genuinely connect with each other. But with patience, kindness, and a willingness to be authentically themselves, maybe they could help everyone remember what it meant to truly care for one another. After all, that's what friends do.